Welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to talk about computer software. Now in this tutorial we'll be able to cover the definition of the word software, then we'll be able to talk about types of computer software, then we'll be able to talk about operating system as one of the example of computer software. So a computer software basically is a set of instructions that direct a computer on how to perform a various function. Now it's like a human being, you cannot be able to work without set of instruction. So in order for you to walk from one point to another, there are some instructions that must be given to authorize the foot or to authorize your leg to move from one point to another, and that is exactly how the computer works. Now we have talked about the computer hardwares in our previous tutorials, so if you missed those tutorials on computer hardware, you can be able to visit my YouTube channel and check and watch them. But basically you can see these hardwares we have been talking about, it requires some set of instruction for them to work the way you want them to work. For you want to maybe to store data in a certain device, you need a computer instruction for it to be able to insert data in that device. Now going further, talking about software, we have classification of softwares. The first classification is a classification according to purpose. Now under classification of purpose, we are going to talk about system software. So system software, they perform a wide variety of fundamental operations that unveils the computer resources to the user. Okay, so they perform fundamental operations that unveil computer resources to the user. So example of these system softwares, we have what we call operating system, we have what we call the device drivers, then we have the utility programs. Now when you talk about the operating system, we'll be able to talk about it in details as we go further, but basically in this scope we can just say that when you talk about operating system, it's like a resource manager, because it manages the different type of resources of the computer, like the CPU, it manages the memory, it manages the devices, and so on and so forth. Device drivers is here also to manage devices. Yeah, it manages the devices that are connected to your computer system through some set of instructions. Then you have utility programs. They are also meant to help you to ensure that everything is up and running to perform different functions and so on and so forth. Now there are some characteristics of system software. One of the characteristics of a system software that it is hard coded. Why do we say it is hard coded? Because it uses the machine language. Another characteristic of system software is that it is difficult to use. Why is it so? Because of the interface that have been provided for you to be able to interact with it. Another one is that with this particular software, this system software, is that it is difficult to modify. It is not easy to modify this kind of system. So it is not easy for you to bring in new action without really being given the right procedure for you to go about it. Another one is that it is written in machine language. It is written in machine language, and therefore it interact mostly with the hardware. They don't interact mostly with the users. This software interact mostly with the hardware. That's why it is written in machine language. Functions of the system software: one is that it is used in booting the computer. So booting the computer basically is the process of starting up your computer system. Number two, a function is that it performs operations such as loading and executing. So as I've said, you want to load some instructions into your computer system, then system software is the one that enables you to do that, because it has got all the computer resources at its disposal. Another one is that it stores and retrieves files, because it is able to access all the computer resources, and one of the computer resources is the hard disk. So it is able to store data in the hard disk and retrieve data from it when it is needed. Another type, another example of a system according to purpose, under the classification according to purpose, is application software. So under application software, that this type of softwares that have been designed to accomplish specific tasks. Example, we have got word processors, we have the spreadsheet, we have the desktop publishing software, and then we have got the database. Example or characteristics of application software: one is that it is mostly coded. It's loosely coded because it's coded in a language that you can be able to understand. Number two, it is easy to manipulate. It is easy to manipulate. You can easily modify this kind of software because it's written in a high-level language. Another one is that it can be interactive. You can be able to interact with it with a lot of ease, and also with this kind of language, this kind of software, it is also meant to communicate with the user. That's why it is written in high-level language, so you can be able to interact with it as the end user. So those are some of the characteristics or features of application software. Going further, we talk about the classification according to acquisition. Now, with according to acquisition, we mean that we have got what we call the in-house developed software. So in-house developed software is like, we call it bespoke or tailor-made software. So it is developed for a specific use in an organization. Now, they are not available in shops because once developed for a certain company, they are not able to address the needs of other users. So they are tailored for a certain company. We call it an in-house developed software. Then we have what we call the vendor-off-the-shelf software. So with the vendor-off-the-shelf software, they are developed by software manufacturers and distributed for sale. So when you go to a shop, a software shop, and you're looking for maybe Microsoft Office, you are going to be given, because they are meant to solve a wide range of issues of many users. That's why we say it vendor-off-the-shelf. So example is Adobe Creative Suite. This one is a graphic design software, and you can be able to solve as many issues as possible of many users. And then we have got Microsoft Office Suite. We can also be able to solve many issues of many users. Now, advantages of vendor-off-the-shelf software. One of the advantages of vendor-off-the-shelf software is that it is widely used. Yeah, it is widely used, and it also can be able to solve many needs of many users. Can solve many needs, a wide variety of needs of users, and also depending, because it is distributed all over in many shops. You can realize that the cost of purchasing the vendor-off-the-shelf software is a little bit lower because it is distributed to many users. It is not specifically tailored for a certain company. Therefore, it becomes a little bit cost-friendly. Another one is that with this one is that it is capable to be modified. It is not capable to be modified. That is a disadvantage. It is not possible to modify it because you buy it from the shop. But basically, it can be able to offer some kind of technical support. So there are some kind of technical support that can be offered in the process of using such kind of a software. Okay, and then we have got regular updates. So you can be able to receive regular updates on areas that can really be able to help to secure your data or to make your software more productive. Okay. So those are some of the advantages. We have talked about the cost. We have said that it's a little bit somehow low in terms of cost. We have also talked about the issue of compatibility. It's capable to compare to. It's capable to compare. It's compatible with many environments. We have got the Windows version. We have got the Linux version. So it's capable to be compatible with many platforms or environment. Another one is regular updates. So it's possible for you to do more regular updates. Technical support. You can be able to get more many technical support from the company that produced that software. Another one is that you can be given the documentation that can guide you on how to use that software in that space. Then you have got another example. Another classification is a classification according to end user license agreement. In this space, we are going to talk about proprietary software. So in this software is a commercial software whose source code is hidden from the users. So you as the user, you are not going to access the source code. So when you talk about the source code, it means the original software, the original code that was written so that to function the software that you're seeing. So it's not possible for you to access the source code for this type of software. Another one is that modification is done by the software manufacturer only. So you cannot do the modification as the end user. So you can be able to liaise with the company that created the software so that to make some kind of adjustment. So you may be licensed for use at a fee. So this software allows you to use at a fee or limited trial period. So for example, Microsoft Office Suite is an example of proprietary software because it allows you to use it for a certain period of time. Then after that, you are required to provide an activation key or a license key. So in the process, you need to do some kind of payment. Number 2, under classification according to end user license agreement, is open source software. So with this software is that it is made, the source code is made available to all users. Example of this is OpenEMR. OpenEMR is a hospital management system, it's a health record management system that is provided for free. So you are just supposed to do the customization and then you are good to go. You can use it the way you want to use it. Now this type of software encourages the end users to acquire the source code, modify and distribute modifiable versions of the original software. So it encourages you to use it, to modify it, and also distribute. You can as well be able to use it in your different shops or in your different hospitals, in your different places where you want to use it. So it is highly recommended in this case. Then we have the freeware. So every time we talk about the freeware, it means that the software whose license is free of charge. So you don't need to pay anything. You're just allowed to use it anywhere you want to use it. It does not allow the user to modify the software for sale. So this, as much as is free of charge, but you are not allowed to modify it so that you can sell it. Yeah. So it's just allowing you to use it but do not sell. Then they have what we call the shareware. Allows the user to freely make and distribute copies of the software. Allows the user to freely make and distribute the copies of the software. Example of it is IDM, Internet Download Manager. Then we have got one example of the system software we talked in the past is what we call the operating system. Now, when you go deeper into operating system, we say that an operating system is a resource manager. And in this scope, we are going to talk about operating system in depth to see. Now, when you talk about resource management, how does the operating system do it? Now, operating system is a system software that manages the hardware and the execution of the application. Now, here we have the diagram that try to explain what I've just talked about. We have the end users at the top here. We have the software part of it. Inside the software, you have got two types of softwares. Remember, I talked about system software and talked about application software. And you say that this is classification according to purpose. Now, these softwares that we just mentioned as a classification according to purpose, they interact with what you call the operating system. And you have said that our operating system is an example of a system software. Now, after it has been able to interact with the operating system now can be able to access the computer resources. And the computer resources in this case is the CPU, the RAM, and the input-output device. Those three are our system resources. So operating system is the only medium we can be able to use for us to access these resources that have been mentioned here. Types of operating system we have according to number of tasks. The first one we have is single task operating system. The number of tasks that can be executed at a time. Single task operating system, they can only process one program in the main memory at a time. So it's not possible for you to be able to work with multiple programs. One program at a time. The user must exit from the program before loading another one. So you must accomplish or you must complete using a certain program before you can be able to load another one. Multitasking OS is coming to remove the limitation that single task OS has. So it executes more than one task. Another thing is that the CPU allocate each task at a time, at a time slice. So as much as we have got many tasks in the CPU, but each and every task has been given a certain timestamp. Once that timestamp has elapsed, the CPU is going to be taken away from that task and be given to another task. So it's something like a round robin thing or round robin algorithm. that in case the time has come out, we are going to take the CPU from you, give to another task for it to continue executing. According to the number of users, we have what we call the single user OS. So a single user OS is that it allows only one person to operate. Example, Android OS. You cannot be able to extend Android OS. It is just used for one device at a time. Then we have got multi-user OS, is that it allows multiple users to access the central computer. It allows multiple users to access a central computer known as the server. So a server is somewhere embedded, is a computer that responds to users' request, and therefore you can be able to communicate, or you can be able to send, many people can be able to send their request at the same time. So one of the example of these is like you have got maybe the online money platform. So we have got a server somewhere, and that server is going to be accessed with millions of people at the same time. Somebody is withdrawing, another one is sending money. So all these are the transaction, and therefore it allows multiple users to access the same site at the same time. Another one is that so those are some of the examples of a number of users. And then we have another classification according to the user interface. We have got three types there. We have what we call the command line user interface. So in this case, you type the command at the command prompt. You just type the command at the command prompt. Then we have got the second one called the menu driven. So it provides a list of options to choose from. Most of the time it happens with the Windows shell. So if you go to the Windows shell of your computer, you'll be able to see a menu driven. So in this menu driven, you are supposed to choose from a list of options what you're going to execute. You are not going to type anything, but the menu has been given for you, and then you select whatever you want to select. So for example, you can go to select that I want to display this, I want to turn this off. These are the menus that you have been given. I want to turn off this, I want to turn on this, I want to do this. These are the menus that you have been given in your Windows shell. So when you are going to see that. Then we have got graphical user interface. Now this is what we use in our Windows operating system. So if I just go to my Windows, this is what we call graphical user interface. So you can see we have been provided with a list full of icons that I can be able to interact with. So this is, for example, I have got my online courses here. This is just but an icon. So with this icon inside here, we have data. So when I click on it, that is where I can be able to open this digital literacy. So this is just a folder, and inside that folder I have got the information that I want to access. So this is what we call graphical user interface. Now going further, we'll be able to talk about the function of the operating system. Now we have got the main function, and then we have got the other function. So the main function number one is what we call the memory management. Now memory management is that the OS keeps track of the processor and the status of the process. So they determine the amount of space that has been used, or the amount of CPU time being used, and whatever is remaining. And also the process that are being executed, how long is it going to take, or how long is it remaining for you to accomplish that task. And then this one is only done, it is being controlled by what we call the traffic controller. So the traffic controller is the one that keeps track of the status of the process. Another one is that it allocates the processor to the process. So the OS is the one now that tells the process a certain activity that it is your time to run. Therefore, once it has said that this is your time to run, it is going to allocate the processor to that process. Then after it is done using that process, that processor time, then it is going to deallocate the processor from the process. Okay, so once it has completed accomplishing a certain task, that CPU time should not be held idle. It is going to be taken away from that process and be given to another process to continue using it. Going further, we are going to talk about the second function, and that is the process management. Now process management, we talk about keeps track of the process and the status of the process, allocates the process to the CPU, and also deallocates the processor once the process no longer needs it. Number 3, we talk about device management. And in the device management, we say that it keeps track of all the devices through what we call the I/O controllers, and then it decides which process gets the device, when and how, and for how much time. Then allocates the resource in the efficient way, and then we have deallocates the devices. That deallocates the devices once it's no longer needed by that process. Then we have file management, and then file management it keeps track of the information. Okay, keeps track of the information, location, uses, and status, and then it decides who gets the resource, allocates the resource, deallocates the resource. Something that I've just noted is that we talked about this, but you look at it, you realize that the description is more of the processor management. So here we can just write there that it keeps track of the main memory and the status of the main memory. It keeps track of the memory. It keeps track of the memory and the status of the memory. Keeps track of the memory and the status of the memory. The status of the process. Even you can leave it like that. So I think that is okay. Yeah. So that is what was missing in that point there. And then I can as well be able to correct here. Allocates the memory. It allocates the memory to a processor, to a process. Allocates the memory to a process, and then you can be able to see we have deallocates the memory. Deallocates the memory when a process no longer require it. So what's something that I want you to see very clearly what I want to say. Now the first thing for these four main functions of the OS, there are four main functions in each and every step. Talking of memory management, talking of process management, talk of device management, and talk of file management. The first thing that you have seen stand out all through is keeping track of something. So you keep track of the memory, you keep track of the processor, you keep track of the device, you keep track of the files, information, and its use. Number two thing that you have seen that stand out is that the issue of allocation and deallocation. And the last thing we have seen, it also tells us the status of the process. So how far is that process up to that particular point? Yeah. So every time we talk about functions of OS, there is something that stands out. Every time we look at it, we are going to look at the memory management. Now talking of the memory management, those four that I've just stated, keeping track of memory, keeping track of process, keep track of the file, keep track of the device. That is something that should stand out through. Then we have got allocation, and deallocation is also another one. And then determining the status of the process in each and every example. Now these are the four main, but others are what we call the other function. Other function is what we call the security, like the operating system employs the password protection, that is the patterns that you use on your phone, the login password that you use on your desktop computers. Those are what we call the security features that the OS provides. Another one is job accounting. So it offers the job accounting to determine, to keep track of how much time and resources that have been consumed by different tasks. So tell us how much time has been consumed, tell us how much resources have been consumed, and so on and so forth. Then you have got error detecting aid. So in case you enter an error, or maybe in case you make an error, it is going to flag it off and then tell you where the error is. So that is the role of the OS, and that is how it can be able to help us to prevent the computer system from failing. So in case of any error in terms of startup, maybe the computer is not starting up correctly, the OS will be able to tell us where the error is. Now these are some of the functions of the OS, and we have talked about the computer system, computer software, and types of the computer software in this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel so that in case I create the next content, you can turn the notification button on so that you'll be informed. Bye bye for now.